neighborhood, so they were staying very close to my school. And because they would hear children sing in the morning, they decided to come enroll their daughter in the school. We're so happy to receive the child, new intake now. So we noticed that first day of school, this child came very aggressive. A 4 year old, 4 going on 5, very aggressive. She will always want to collect other children's biscuits forcefully, collect their pencils, collect everything. She will push them, she will paint their nose, and she'll be screaming while at it. So the first day she did it, we felt okay. Probably it was, because she was in a new environment and she was finding it difficult. That was her own reaction to her new environment. So we called her, talked to her. Then the teacher put her by her side, and immediately the teacher put her beside her. She began to scream, threw herself on the chair, threw herself on the floor, and was rolling and screaming. It was terrible. She was throwing so much tantrums. And before we knew it, the parent had arrived. They were like, what happened? Why is she crying? Why is she this? We explained. We were like, sir, she's fighting over somebody else's pencil, so we had to separate her. The father was like, no, 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 no. Give it to her, give it to her. It's just ordinary pencils. Tomorrow I'll buy you a packet of pencil. Let her have the pencil. I'm like, no, no, we don't do this here. She cannot take somebody else's pencil forcefully. It is wrong. It is not about the pencil. The father was like, is it not just 20 naira pencil? Please give my daughter. I don't want my daughter screaming. So we calmed him. We just told him we would handle the situation. He left. The next day, this child came and it was still the same behavior. She was always screaming. And because the parents stay close to the school, anytime their daughter just begins to scream, she wants to collect somebody else's pencil, she sits beside the child and she hits the child's head on the wall. We just have to separate her, and she begins to scream, throws herself on the floor. The father will appear. Those particular day, the father came and was like, he doesn't want his daughter crying. He went through a lot giving birth to her. When the mother gave birth to her through CS in the general hospital, he went through a lot. And I'm like, sir, everybody goes through a lot goes through one thing or the other in having their giving birth to their child. We cannot allow this child grow up like this. The child had gotten to the point where she was exhibiting the invincible child syndrome because she was being over pampered, because she was being permitted to do whatever she liked, and they bring her to school, they're singing all sort of praises, all malicha, all sort of things, mommy. I'm not saying you shouldn't praise your child, but when you overly praise the child and the child begins to develop some sense of a bloated ego, you are doing that child a disservice. When you over pamper your child to the point that your child begins to lack discipline, you protect your child to the point that your child doesn't have resilience. Any little thing, the child is crying, the child is screaming. That is when the child begins to feel invincible. That is where the invincible child syndrome. When you do that, when you over pamper, you over protect, you permit your child, you allow your children get away, there are no consequences, you are creating a problem that may outlive you as the parent. Because number one, you will raise that child into an adult that will always be dependent on you. You understand? Chances are, in fact, there's a greater probability that you, the parent, are the ones that will buy pampers and buy baby food for your own grandchildren, because you're raising a child that doesn't have resilience, you're raising a child that doesn't have grit, a child that has no problem solving skill, a child that cannot learn from his problem, a child that will crack under the slightest pressure. You see some certain individuals that they're in a relationship and the person says it's over and they go suicidal. When you do these things, you are not helping your child. The invincible child syndrome is when the parent overprotects. You make this child believe that the child is actually more than what he is. Some parents practically worship their children, and I wonder why. When you ask such parents, they will tell you, I know what I suffered before I born this pikin. I know what I went through. I waited for 15 years. I've given birth to 20 girls before I had this son. It is either an only child or an only son, or they waited for a very long time. Now, I must say this. You cannot pamper an only child to become 10 children for you. No matter how much you pamper an only child, an only son, an only daughter, it can never become 10 for you, all right? But you can raise an only child well, and he becomes as useful, as responsible, and has the capacity of what 10 sons will do for you, what 10 children will do for you. So please, as parents, stop raising children with the invincible child syndrome. Children need discipline, children need structure, children need to learn boundaries, children need to know that for every action in life there are consequences. You see all these consequences you are shielding your children from. Life is not that fair. Life is not that generous, all right? For whatever you do, you will either reap the reward or the consequences. Life is a full circle. So please don't let your children grow up with the mentality that life owes them. You understand? Raising children that are entitled, raising children that have no problem solving skills. Do the right thing as a parent. That is why we are there, to guide them right, so that they can end up as responsible and independent children.